Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Matt and Matt O-Scale Train podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rochford, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts,
Matt Suzuha.
And Johnny.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic, buddy.
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, man?
Well, guys, tonight is episode 32, and before we get started, I do want to go over some just quick merchandise stuff like we always do. So, again, folks, if you want to get yourself a Matt and Matt O-Scale Trains shirt, coffee mug, sweatshirt, I will put the link in the show notes. I'm not going to give you the link now because it's super long. And thanks to our friend Maddie C, who created a website that hosts various other I should say train podcasts, but other YouTube channels and just trains in general. He's got all kinds of merch on there, but he does have one specifically for the Matt and Matt podcast. And if you use our merch code, which is MAMPOD, you will get 10% off. Again, I'll put that code in the description notes. And if you're interested in getting some merch, well, there you are. So now let's get to the main event. So tonight, gentlemen, we are going to be reviewing the recently dropped Atlas Premier catalog for the winter of 2021. So there are some really cool goodies in there, a lot of Amtrak stuff, some F7s, and some various rolling stock. Now, we called in an expert to help us with some of this Amtrak stuff, and I want to introduce our guest tonight, RJ from the RJ's Trains YouTube channel. RJ, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having on a crazy Amtrak foamer to talk about Amtrak tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's definitely a big help to have somebody who knows a lot about Amtrak, who's a big fan of Amtrak, and you can kind of take us through all the paint schemes and maybe what passenger cars go with what, and all the little knickknacks and stuff about Amtrak. So we appreciate you having you on.
Well, thanks for having me on, and I'm looking forward to going over it with you guys.
All right. Well, let's get right to it. So the way we're going to do this tonight is if you want to follow along at home, you can download the PDF catalog. If you just go to the Atlas website, there'll be a link there. I'll put a link in the notes in the description too. If you just want like a direct, link to the catalog, you can download it right to your computer, bring it up, and you can follow along. So I am on page 2 and 3. It's just kind of like the introduction and the table of contents. I'm not going to go over this. There's just, if you want to look at it, feel free to go through it. Atlas has a little spiel about, welcome to the catalog, and they talk about some of the research and development stuff and some of the offerings. We're just going to dive right in and start on page 4, which has our very cool P42 Genesis Locomotives. I'm going to just hand this over to RJ and let him go down it, talk about the paint schemes, and then, anyone else who wants to jump in, go right ahead.
So these are the old MTH Premier line tooling of the Genesis locomotives. So they've been made before, but it's really exciting to see them in these 50th anniversary paint schemes that Amtrak has announced over the course of the past year or so, coordinating with their 50th anniversary. So the first one that's right up at the top of the catalog is number 108, which is the Phase 6 Heritage paint scheme. Now, Amtrak doesn't technically have a Phase 6. The Amfleet and Superliner passenger cars are Phase 6, but there's never been a locomotive painted in Phase 6. So they painted up this one special P42 in anniversary of the 50th anniversary. And they are also painting the first 6 new Siemens Charger locomotives in this paint scheme as well. And then the rest of the new locomotives will be painted in Phase 7. The second one on the list, number 161, is the Phase 1 Heritage unit. Amtrak already had a Phase 1 Heritage unit, number 156, but that was sent to the Scrapper's Torch earlier this year. So they decided, what the heck, we'll paint up another locomotive in the Phase 1 paint scheme and call it a day. So that has the Great Pointless Arrow logo on the side. The third one is the Phase 3 Heritage paint scheme, but this one is the Dash 8 paint scheme. Amtrak had about 20-8s or so. Today, they're mainly regulated to yard service, but back in the day, they did see service on the main line pulling passenger trains in this Pepsi can paint scheme, as some Amtrak foamers like to call it. And it's a real sharp paint scheme. And then just going through the last couple here, we have the Phase 5 Heritage Paint Scheme, number 46. Interesting fact about this locomotive is that it was actually supposed to pull Biden's inauguration train. Amtrak unveiled it the first week of January, but due to world events, the inauguration train was canceled. But that's why they chose number 46 for the 50th anniversary paint scheme and not engine number 50. And the last one, which is my personal favorite, number 100, which is the Midnight Blue paint scheme, is actually Amtrak's Honoring Employees unit. And I've seen that one in person, and it's really sharp. And rounding out the group of P42s, we have two Phase 5 P42s. This is Amtrak's everyday standard revenue paint scheme, and it's really nice seeing these back being produced because the MTH ones are extremely hard to find.
Yeah, those are definitely hard to find. I've looked if you don't pre-order those things, they tend to get snagged up pretty quickly, I noticed.
Yeah.
Are there any paint schemes here that really well, let me ask this to the entire group here. Are there any paint schemes that really stick out for you that you're just kind of like, I love that, I have to have that? Like, what do you, does anyone plan on pre-ordering any of these on the in the catalog?
Yes.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'll take the lead for this one then. Uh, this is probably the item I'm most excited about in this catalog. I don't usually go absolutely bonkers for diesel engines, but something about the Genesis with the way that the lines, how it looks, is just it's very sleek and modern. Yet it has that American bruteness to it that I really love about the engine. I think the ones that I will probably settle on are going to be I'm a big fan of soda, so I'll probably get the Pepsi Can Dash 8 paint scheme. And I will probably consider I'm really stuck between the Phase 5 50th and just a normal Phase 5. I might just get a regular Phase 5, not only for modeling a Amtrak consist, but also using it as a diesel helper on my steam excursions, because that is usually a common sight. But one of them that I really didn't expect to like as much as I do, it's got to be that Phase 6. I'm actually not the biggest fan of that paint scheme, but something about it, though, maybe it's the way that the Atlas has it pictured, makes it look super sharp. So maybe I'll have to do some rethinking here. But definitely yes for me. I'll be getting the Pepsi Can and the normal Phase 5.
Awesome. And how about yourself, Matt?
I'm thinking. I mean, if my wallet would allow, I would do 3, but I'm gonna definitely do 1 for sure. I'm definitely doing the Midnight Blue. That's not even a question. Runner up would be the Dash 8, and then one of the regular um, revenue service numbers. I don't know which one, but the Midnight Blue for sure. I love that paint scheme. It's
That's
beautiful.
the number 100.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the
Okay.
one. It's awesome.
Yeah, that one's really nice. Yeah, I like that one as well.
Yeah, I gotta have something to put on while I'm listening to Lou Graham. So
There you go. And how about yourself, RJ?
So I'm indebted for at least two of these P42s. I already have two. I have the Veterans unit and the Phase 4 Heritage unit from the last MTH run. So I'm going to go with number 100, the Midnight Blue Honoring Employees unit. I've got some friends who are Amtrak employees, so and I've seen that one in person in DC, so that's a really cool one. And then I'm also going to do one of the normal Phase 5 paint schemes because I can't just have three Heritage units in my collection. So I'm going to go with number 175 for the simple fact I rode behind 176, and 175 is closer to 176 than 173. If money allowed, I would probably also do the Phase 6 paint scheme. I've seen that one in DC as well. That's a really sharp unit, especially in person. So, Johnny, if you think it looks good in the catalog, I've got some pictures for it in person that will wow you. But I think I'm probably just going to stick with those two, considering they're about $600.
I see you're taunting me in my wallet again, RJ. I see it wasn't enough. You had revenge for all the times I taunted you with a Burke and a PA at York. I see how it is.
I'm just playing the long game here, Johnny. Eventually, I'll have to buy those Berks, and you can make fun of me that day. But today, I'm making fun of you over these Genesis units.
I suppose it's fair enough. I suppose it's fair enough.
What
Now,
goes around comes back around, Johnny.
It sure does.
that's very true. It's very true. I'm a little bit prone to that phase 6 as well. I kind of like it. I like the colors with the red cab on top. It's very striking for me. So I mean, I haven't put any money down, and I'm not 100% sure whether I will or not, but that's probably the one that I would get if I were to get one. But I think they're all fantastic, and let's obviously be glad that somebody bought the Genesis uh you know uh tooling from MTH, and the Genesis continues to be made in O scale, because obviously we're unfortunately probably never going to see anything from, well, I shouldn't say anything from Lionel. Lionel does have some smaller semi-scale ones coming out, but everyone was looking forward to having some scale Genesis engines, and I'm really glad that Atlas bought the tooling for it and is now creating these really awesome paint schemes, working directly with Amtrak, coming up with really cool paint schemes. And there's more to come in the catalog too. So just some really quick details on these folks. These all have Protosound 3 in them. So if you're used to having an MTH Genesis engine, well, this is pretty close to, you're pretty much getting the same thing. They are now, there is a bit of a price increase here. MSRP on these is $619.95. Now, I don't know if anybody else here knows what the pre-orders are on those.
I think Mr. Muffin's like 560 something.
Yeah, Mr. Muffin's about the best price there at that 560 price point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. Okay, so that's not all that bad. I think the MTH, I think they're, when they made these last, what were they, like 479 or
Higher. I think they're 519.
we're okay, 519. Okay. So
Something
all right.
like that.
So
Yeah. Well, and just a couple other things to note is that I think Atlas has upgraded the tooling just a little bit, so there probably might be a couple of little extra handrails or paint swabs wherever on the locomotive. And also, they're producing this in two rail for the first time. MTH never made it in two rail, so there's going to be a two rail option with fixed pilots for those guys out there.
okay.
And if there aren't those extra handrails, then you send your Genesis to RJ, and he'll painstakingly imply them on for you.
Yes.
Well, his address will be in the show notes. So does anyone have anything else about these Genesis locomotives? Otherwise, we will move on to the passenger cars.
I'm excited. I mean, I think, like, to your point, Matt, you need to pre-order these. If you don't, you're basically screwed. I mean, these will sell out instantly. And you got to think too that these are paint schemes nobody's done before. I mean, yeah, the revenue ones have been done before, but these heritage ones in scale, these are brand new. So it's like, if you want one, you need to pre-order.
And I'll also note here that Amtrak is coming out with another specially painted non-heritage unit, P42, in January. But overall, the P42s, they're on their last leg at Amtrak. And much like the Lionel Acellas, uh, the locomotive's retiring, and who really knows how many more production runs we're going to get of these locomotives. So,
Yeah.
so this might be the last one. Hopefully Atlas makes 2 or 3 more to get their money's worth out of the tooling that they just purchased, but you don't know the next time these are going to be made again, if ever.
No, that's a really good point, RJ. And I'm gonna kind of on a similar note for heritage units. It's kind of a thing where I've learned you really got to get them when they come out, because usually it's a one and done, or one two and done. Like Matt Zero there and I have learned with, especially with on a completely different type of heritage unit, like the Union Pacific SD-70s that came out years
Oh
ago.
yeah.
You'll never see those made ever again. Never.
No. Or if you do, they're gonna be double the price on the secondhand market and about, a good increase in the production market if they ever come out again.
Oh yeah, especially with
Yeah.
Atlas. Atlas stuff. What's ordered is what's ordered.
Yep.
That's what I've learned.
That's it.
Okay, and just so everyone knows, the the pre-order due date for all of these is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. The expected or the estimated arrival date for these P42s is second quarter of 2022. Now, I don't know exactly how on the mark that is. I mean, a quarter is, 3 months. So, there's a pretty big window in there. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see next year. I guess we'll see how many people actually do pre-order it, which I'm expecting there to be a lot. Especially with your point, RJ, of who knows how many more of these they're going to do. Now, I mean, they could come up with some pretty wild paint schemes, and I think people would still buy the Genesis locomotives. But there will be a time where they'll definitely kind of retire these off. So all right, so let's go ahead and move on to the passenger cars. And again, these are beautiful, but I am not the expert here, so I'll go ahead and hand the mic over to RJ.
All right, guys. So be prepared for an Amtrak foamer overload. So Atlas, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they were going to catalog fantasy paint scheme ampletes to match each of the heritage units, rather than producing prototypical paint schemes. Now, this might be because of whatever. They might feel that the normal Amtrak paint schemes have been produced so many times that they're out there on the open market for people to buy, and they wanted to offer something different. As someone who collects Amtrak, I can tell you that the modern day amp fleets are very hard to find. But nevertheless, so if you're getting a heritage unit and you want to get a fantasy, non prototypical paint scheme to match your engine, Atlas has you covered. And I'm not going to lie, some of these paint schemes are actually really attractive. Just as a stickler for the details when it comes to Amtrak, personally, I'm out on these. There is, however, one technically prototypical paint scheme, and that's the Phase 5 paint scheme that they have cataloged here. It was an experimental paint scheme used by Amtrak back when they were trying to name all of their trains between Washington, D.C. and Boston Acellas. They eventually dropped it in about 2002 because they realized that people were upset when they were buying tickets for an Acela and they ended up behind an AEM7 and 50-year-old Amfleet cars. So by 2004, the paint scheme was covered up for its modern day equivalent, which Amtrak still uses today. So in reality, none of these P42s, and especially the heritage ones, would have ever pulled any of the passenger cars that Atlas is producing. So if anything else, Atlas just jacked up the prices of the prototypical Amtrak paint schemes on the secondhand market. But for those fantasy guys out there, Atlas has you covered.
These are pretty sweet looking. I know. I mean, I'm always kind of interested in sometimes, fantasy paint schemes. Obviously, if you're pulling the equivalent P42, having the matching passenger cars, there's a little bit of organization going on there that you're kind of like, I would love to have everything matching, as I'm pulling my passenger cars around my layout. Now, again, it's going to differ from person to person. I think I would probably, if I bought, one of the P42s, I would most likely get one of the fantasy paint schemes to match it. I think they're pretty cool for the most part. How about you guys?
I like them. I think what I'm gonna probably do is I'm gonna get one of those P42s. Like I said, the Midnight Blue is the one I'm really interested in. So what I'll probably end up doing is probably buying the separate sale coaches for the Midnight Blue, and then just running some regular prototypical painted am fleets with that. Run like maybe 6 cars, have like 2 of them be the fantasy jobs. I think that'd be cool.
Fantasy jobs, I like that.
Oh, and then one note real quick. Sorry to cut you off, Johnny. Is that
How dare you?
none of these are plated. And I don't know if RJ, if you wanted to comment on that real quick, but it's a kind of a letdown, at least from me anyway.
Yeah, definitely a letdown for me. And I mean, in a way, I'm glad they're not doing it in Phase 4B/Phase 6, which is the modern Amtrak Amfleet paint scheme, because I have the chrome plated Amfleets from MTH and they're really nice. But one positive that these Amfleets have over the MTH ones is that they have accurately painted interiors. So the interiors of Amfleet cars have gray seats and a lot of navy blue carpeting. And it seems like from the renders, Atlas is going to be doing that in these passenger cars. But the MTH ones, it's just that basic plastic brown, tan, orange. And they look horrible. That looks horrible in person. So there are pros and cons to these Ampleets that Atlas is doing.
Oh, for sure. And I'll hop in and add my 2 cents. Um, for what they are, these are actually some very nice cars. If you're a Amtrak enthusiast and are a little bit more serious about your accuracy, like RJ, they're probably not for you. These are definitely done to match the heritage engines, and if you just want to have a little bit of fun and you don't mind just letting loose with a with being prototypical, these cars will definitely suit you well. They are very interesting paint schemes. If I had to choose, I definitely like the Amtrak Phase 150th. It's just classic Amfleet colors with the signage on the side, pointless arrow, 50th anniversary. That's pretty cool. And then the Amtrak Phase 5 is actually pretty cool as well. The I like them. There's only a couple that I'm like, I'll pass, but they are nice cars. The interior touch that RJ mentioned, that's something that you don't see very often. I actually watched RJ's video on his P42 and cars recently, so I know what he's talking about there. It does stand out a little bit. So having that modern, sleek gray on the inside will help. But they're nice cars. If you're interested in those, by all means, go for them. Personally, it's not for me. I do like the classic Amfleets, but I probably want to get some more prototypical. And don't worry, for those of you who are not a fan of Amfleets and would like to get cars for your P42, there are more cars to come. So keep that in mind.
And for those of you guys who want something for these P42s that aren't Ampleets but would still be accurate, like Johnny said, we're going to be talking about some passenger cars later on that also work with them. But Amtrak also runs plenty of excursions with private cars, which are just random old railroad cars for every single railroad that you can think of. And you could just string up a train of 10 passenger cars or 5 passenger cars that you have laying around, and it's still completely accurate. So you don't have to worry about getting Ampleets in order to have this long prototypical train. More likely than not, you've already got stuff sitting around for it too.
Exactly. Like that's the New River train is one of the examples of that. I believe that happens once in a while. Ever since they switched over to diesel power, I believe you can definitely see a couple of Genesis engines pulling a very long string of vintage pasture cars. So RJ provides a very good alternative there for if you are wanting Genesis but don't necessarily have the budget to grab Amtrak coaches. You'll definitely have a chance to run them with something.
So these are going to be offered in both 3-rail and 2-rail. You can buy them as separate sale coaches, and you could buy them in a 4-pack, which is 3 coach cars and then a cafe car. So in case you want some coffee, you got a car for that. So now the price for these, the individual ones on the 3-rail are $124.95. The 4-packs are $499.80. Now again, this is MSRP, so you could get that for a lot cheaper if you go through a dealer. The 2-rail are a bit more expensive. The single coaches are $129.95, and the 4-packs are $519.80. You guys can correct me. I don't see figures listed on here. Did they mention at all they were going to install figures in these?
I feel like there was a big controversy when they released the Madison cars a while ago, and those didn't have figures in them, and people are getting pretty upset. So if there weren't figures in those, I can't imagine that there are going to be figures in these AM fleets.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I always thought that was a great touch, and people, especially when you're dealing with like the premier model of something, like people kind of expect that. And I'm one of them. Like I prefer, like, look, I can install them myself. I can open up a car, I can install figures, but I would rather not have to open it up and install figures. So I guess we'll see. So it's not mentioned. So just so everybody knows, it's not mentioned in the features that they do have figures, but I mean that's subject to change. All right, so let's move on down, and it looks like we have some pretty cool, right up my alley, F40 Phs. Definitely been waiting for this model to come along. Um, I can tell you I'm very happy to see the model, and I can tell you that I have some extreme disappointment as well. So,
So do I.
and I'll just kind of come right out right now before I hand it over to the group. Um, you know, I would have loved to see some Metra. So again, that's Metra, Metra, Chicago F40 PHs in the catalog. Now, again, I don't know Atlas's dealings with Metra or whatever licensing they have to do. MTH could have kept the licensing as well, for all we know. So I don't know where that is in that. I think these are really cool and they look awesome. I would have loved to see a Metra, maybe next time. So with that said, I'll make my peace with it, and I'll pass this over to the group.
No, I agree with on the Metro thing. I know I was really when I found out that these were being made, the first thing I wanted was Metro. I'm not gonna lie with you, Matt. Um, but in any event, I think the paint schemes they did choose are really cool. The one that's kind of getting me going is that New Jersey Transit, just because it's something different. But I think they got some really cool paint schemes for everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna hop on the metro train here. No pun intended or jokes intended. I am a little bit disappointed that there is no Metra in here, but that's just because I'm biased towards Metra. Matt R will know this. If I had my way, I would make this the Metra podcast. But no, it's a little bit of shame that they're not there. However, the offerings are actually pretty decent. It's definitely geared towards more of the East Coast. And in all honesty, as much as Matt and I like our Metra, maybe it's about time we let those East Coasters let them have their F40s, I suppose. The New Jersey Transit's actually pretty sharp. I do like how that looks. The Phase 3 Amtrak is always a classic. You can't go wrong with that. Amtrak Phase 4, that one's a pretty nice one too, one that you don't see very often, aside from the Rail King starter set. The MBTA is also another cool one, and then you've also got the Metro North, which is one that very much stands out compared to the rest of them. I don't think I've seen that yet, but that's just because I haven't been looking. Um, Nice models. You will have Proto 3 in these models as well, and these engines are going to sound amazing. Matt and I both have Proto 3 F40s, and these engines are nicknamed Screamers, and the reason being is that they will be at the eighth, notch 8, even at idle, just to keep the power to the passenger cars going. So when these things are sitting at the station, you will be deaf. And MTH with their Proto 3 sound package, you will be able to recreate that. I run my F40 on notch 8 all the time, and it is as deafening as the real thing. So I'm very excited for these engines. I will not be ordering this run because I don't have anything that matches it. But to those of you who are excited and wanting to get them, you will not be disappointed. But my last thing I want to add in and kind of question is are these going to come with snowplows on the front? Because I'm not seeing any snowplow detail on the front of these engines. I saw them on the P42, but I'm not seeing it on this engine. So I don't know what you guys think.
Yes, a detachable snowplow is in the details.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
There you go,
makes or
Johnny.
breaks it. Yep. That I'm not gonna lie.
Now
That
you'll
little
order one.
detail. Yeah. I'll order the snowplow. I'll order like 8 of them.
Oh, okay.
Make an F40 out of snowplows. But no, that's a small detail that usually makes or breaks the look of an engine for me. So I'm glad it's included.
Yep.
So I'll round off the thoughts here on the F40. Just like the rest of you guys, I was pretty disappointed not to see Metra, but considering we don't know who has the MTH bi-level tooling, I would have been fairly disappointed to see a Metra F40 and then no passenger cars to go with it. And I have a feeling that Lionel probably has something cooking up with Metra, so we'll see if anything happens there. Phase 3, Amtrak F40. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the F40s in the Amtrak paint schemes. And I also can't model anything before 2011 in Amtrak, or else I would actually go bankrupt. But Phase 3 F40 in Amtrak, that's the locomotive that saved Amtrak. The Phase 4 F40, probably my least favorite looking Amtrak engine ever. Great to see a New York paint scheme in the Metro North. That Metro North stuff just doesn't ever get made. And the New Jersey Transit. So one interesting note about this model in particular, and one of the catalog versions, 4116. So that engine was used in helper service when Greenbrier 614 ran excursion services out of Hoboken to Port Jervis, New York. So that engine was often coupled with the engine to provide head-end power and everything else to the passenger cars. So I'm sorry to Sid if you're listening to this and you weren't thinking you were ordering any locomotives out of this, but that 4116 would look great running next to the Greenbrier 614 if you've got one laying around.
So, so I have a quick question for you East Coast guys. Where might one find a Metro North F40 being run?
So Metro North and New Jersey Transit actually have a shared line, the Port Jervis line. It runs from Hoboken to Port Jervis, New York. And at the New Jersey New York border, it switches over to technically being a Metro North train. And in New Jersey, it's a New Jersey Transit train. So because New Jersey Transit also has F40s, they'll run F40s on the Metro North section and run them all the way down to Hoboken. So you can see them on that line. And they were generally used all across the Metro North system. You can even see it underneath the catenary in New Haven. But mainly it would stick to that Port Jervis line.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was very curious about where one might find something, an engine like that. I do like the colors quite a bit.
So,
They
I mean, if you're looking at the passenger cars that we're going to get into here now, I mean, you could have a Metro North F40 pulling New Jersey Transit passenger cars, and it'd be 100% accurate.
pretty cool. So yeah, we'll finish up here with the F40s now. Again, they come in both 3-rail and 2-rail, and they're the exact same price. $619.95 is the MSRP. And again, if you go through one of your dealers and you pre-order, you could definitely get that down quite a bit. They are scheduled for the same arrival time of second quarter 2022. And just so everyone knows, again, the pre-order due date is Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. If you really want one of these, I would recommend that you pre-order one because F40s tend to go pretty quick as well. And as far as features go, same features you would have found on a MTH Protosound, Premier F40. Again, these are the tooling and they have Protosound 3 installed. So if you want a good comparison, well, there you go. Except for, all the new paint schemes that Atlas is doing. Now, let's go ahead and move over to page 16, where we have some pretty cool Horizon Comet passenger cars. And I'm going to pass the mic over to RJ, who can give us a bit of maybe some history on these.
They're Horizon cars and Comet cars. Comet cars are very similar to the Horizon cars. They're just the commuter train equivalent, and Atlas thinks that they're close enough. So they're close enough. So the actual tooling is for the Comet cars, and the Amtrak are the Horizon cars. So commuter agencies across the country use these, but they made them to match perfectly with the F40. So we've got New Jersey Transit, Metro North, and the MBTA. And we also have cab cars. I actually have 3 of these cars painted up for Mark, which is the Maryland commuter system down here in Washington, D.C. And these are really really nice looking cars, lots of extra details and great looking interiors. And on those cab cars on the end, you actually have headlights and windshield wipers and a little cab inside of the window, which is a really neat touch and adds that extra level of prototypicalness. And then onto the Amtrak Horizon cars. Now, these were typically found on short haul trains, although they were used on some long distance trains all throughout the country, particularly in the East Coast, on the East Coast long distance trains because of the low height clearance. Today, they're mainly found throughout Michigan on Midwest services. They're planned to be used in Mississippi for the new Gulf Coast service, as well as they can also be found in California and in the Pacific Northwest on the Cascade services during equipment shortages. But if you are looking for actual accurate Amtrak passenger cars to match with your Heritage P42s, these Horizon cars are the perfect fit for you. And if you're not looking to break the bank on passenger cars, um, like the new Gulf Coast passenger service that's starting between Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, the early plans for that that's been up on like trains.com is 2 coaches and the food service car. So you only need 3 cars to and a P42 to make an accurate Amtrak train, which is a nice way to keep the wallet close to your pocket.
I think I'll come out and just say that if I get anything out of here, I would just buy one cab car just because I love cab cars. I'll put it behind something. I don't care. But yeah, those cab cars look really cool. I wonder how do they note how fully functional they are? I mean, besides lights and stuff like that. Can you change the lighting on there? Like, can you change it to
So
like
they
a
have
push pull? Like, can you make it a lead
oh,
car and an end car? And
they have switches underneath the car that control the lights.
okay, cool. So it is like the Metro cap car. Okay, yeah, because the Metro bi-levels have that switch underneath too, where you can kind of switch from a when you're doing a push pull service, you can make it the lead, you can make it the rear, you can change the marker lights and stuff like that. So that is really cool. I'm very very considering one of these just and probably the New Jersey Transit one. I'd imagine that one looks really cool. Um, would I get anything else? I don't know, but just to kind of have one would be really cool. Just to kind of put in my fleet. So
Yeah,
that's
I'll send you a picture of mine, and then you'll really have to order one.
okay. Great. I'm sure. All right. Well, I'm getting my card out right now. So, all right. So I just wanted to come out and say that I think that cab car looks awesome. I'll pass it over to the rest of the group.
I think that the highlight out of here is the cab car for sure. When I first saw these, I think that it's really cool to have a cab car because with any of these, push pull trains, you almost got to have one. So these are really cool. I really like the phase 5 with the blue stripe. That one's really cool. I like that a whole lot. So maybe we'll see.
No, those are pretty sick. I think I'm probably going to be getting my Amtrak coaches from here. So I am currently eyeing up the Phase 5 Horizon coach. That looks pretty sick and uh it just looks great. I mean, it looks more model like than anything. It looks more like real train like than anything else, and that's what I like about these cars. Um, I am slightly partially to blame that RJ bought some of these already. I remember I was at work and RJ was sending me furious messages via text about him trying to get these off a particular auction site. But no, these are beautiful cars. These will definitely be. I'm really debating on buying these Phase 5 Horizon coaches. I don't believe these are offered in a 4 pack. No, I don't believe they are. I think you have to buy them individually, which kind of sucks, but I can kind of understand that. But I do have a question for RJ.
Oh, maybe I have an answer.
So, looking at the pictures here, so I'm seeing that the Horizon coach the has a well, comparing the food service car to the Horizon coach, the trucks are different. Now, is that just a thing with the render, or is that actually accurate in real life?
I think there's just a thing with the render.
Okay.
Um, you can't see it on ones where you can actually see the physical model because everything's black. But I think
Mhm.
Atlas just outlined some stuff in white there to make the
Gotcha.
details pop a little bit more.
Gotcha. Okay, if that's the case, then I think I might just be sticking with the Horizon Coach then, the Phase 5. Though the Phase 3, I like that one a lot. So it's really a hard decision between which two I like. I guess this will be my deciding moment, so I'll decide here on the podcast. But RJ, if I am getting the Pepsi can and the normal Phase 5 of the two, which one do I need? And realistically, without making me go bankrupt, how many of these cars do I need?
Here's what I say for anybody out there who's getting any of the Heritage unit and is looking to make an accurate train. You need 2 Horizon coaches and 1 cafe car. That's all you need. And right there, you have a 100% accurate Amtrak train. So
Gotcha.
it's still $400. That's 3 cars, but that is the cheapest that you can do if you want to make a train out of Horizons and want it to be 100% accurate.
Gotcha. Okay. So 100% accurate. I will only have a consist of 2 P42s and 8 Littlest Pet Shop tank cars. Gotcha.
Yep. Auxiliary tenders.
Auxiliary
Yeah.
tenders. Yeah, we all know P42s needed a lot of auxiliary tenders to
Yeah.
run.
Totally prototypical.
That's it. Now,
That's cool.
one thing with these is these were previously announced, so these are limited availability. So these are not a guaranteed pre-order thing. So you have to check with your dealer that you would normally order from to get these. So it's kind of like whatever's out there is what's available.
Good point, Matt. And just so everyone knows too, these are all 21.5-inch cars too. These are full scale length cars. And
Oh yeah.
the price is actually not that bad. I mean, so you're looking at 149 for most of them MSRP, and then there's a few that are 159. The MBTAs, I'm guessing due to licensing, are $10 more. I don't know
No,
if
no.
that's accurate, but
Look closer. New road numbers. So it must be that they had to up the price to change it.
oh, interesting. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
I
I don't get this. I don't get this pricing.
because the road
I
number's
think
higher, we're gonna add
I
$10
don't
onto
know.
it.
yeah,
Like
I think it's the
that.
licensing fee there.
It's
Yeah.
probably that's probably what it is.
I'm guessing it's the licensing too. And then these are also available in 2-rail, and the pricing is it's like $5 more a car
And
for the 2-rail version.
and they're available undecorated.
Yeah,
Good point.
and I'm still undecided if I'm going to go in on these Horizons. I guess I really don't have that much time to sit here and think about it because the pre-order deadline is in a week from today, from when we're recording this. If I do, I'd go in for the 2 Phase 5 and the 1 coach, but I really want to just order 1 undecorated one and then having custom decals made up for a mark set that I already have. So we'll see. Probably won't order any of these, but really cool to see that Atlas is opening back up this pre-order window for those people who didn't originally order them.
These are cool. These are cool, and I didn't realize that uh, the pre-order date is a lot sooner than the engines are. So make a note of that. What exactly what was that date, RJ?
So the pre-order deadline for these in the catalog is stated as December 10th. I want to say the Atlas rep on the Train World live stream tonight might have said December 9th. I don't know if that was just a typo in the catalog or by him. But yeah, about a week you guys have because, like I was alluding to earlier, Atlas actually announced these cars over a year ago, and they're just now about to go into production. And so they got the catalog out just in time to give people a opportunity to reorder these cars.
Okay, good to know. And really for folks out there, just if you are interested in these, just call. If you're listening to this right now and it's not December 9th or 10th, call your dealer right now because every dealer's going to be a little different. So if you really want one, please call them and work with them. So all right. With that said, let's move on down to page 20. And here we have something to my liking, very much so. And we got some pretty sweet F7s with their respective B unit paired with them. And these are pretty sweet. Now, I'm going to kind of point out right now that these are not Protosound 3 engines. These are all TMCC engines. So Atlas has been making F7s before, so I'm guessing that they're just using the same, the same kind of practice that they have been doing when actually creating F7s. But these look really cool. So we have a Chesapeake in Ohio, we have a Reading, we have a Southern Pacific in looks like that. What is that? Like kind of a gray and red? Is that what you call it? Or
It's like a
Bloody
bloody
nose.
nose or
Yeah,
bloody nose style.
I
and
love
then
that one.
we have the black and white Southern, and then that Chesapeake and Ohio was a really cool blue and yellow paint scheme. I really like it. These are really cool. Unfortunately, there are no paint schemes that I'm attracted to, but I really love seeing F7s in catalogs, and these are great if you're looking for an F7. These in Lionel or MTH hasn't made one in a while, or obviously there's a paint scheme here that you really like. I would definitely jump on these. What do you guys think?
I think the SP is beautiful. I love that light gray. That is if the thing is going to come out like the render, I'm totally in. However, I will say my one issue with it, and I don't quite know why they're doing this, but these have TMCC and not Proto Sound. And if they had Proto Sound, I would already have my order in. I don't know why these have TMCC.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in with you there, man. I'm a little bit let down by the fact it's got TMCC. If it was Proto 3, I'd probably hop on them a lot more. However, for those of you who are interested in getting them still, you won't be disappointed. Uh, from what I've seen, I've never owned one personally, but I have gotten a chance to see a couple in person. They are very ornate, very detailed F units. You will not be disappointed, and the paint schemes are absolutely beautiful. The Chesapeake and Ohio one is just so flashy. The Reading one is just a striking dark paint scheme. Those of you who have known me from my YouTube channel and from the last couple episodes I've been on, I am a big Southern Pacific fan. I love the Southern Pacific F7. Something about that red nose just really pops out, and you can't go wrong with classic Southern as well. I mean, RJ will probably just cheering over there because I'm saying nice things about the Southern, but it's just such a nice and sharp paint scheme. But these are beautiful engines, and if whoever you guys out there who want them, you will not be disappointed.
Well, I myself find myself to be a Southern man, but I was excited to see the Southern F7s in the catalog. My theory as to why they have TMCC and not Protosounds 3 is because MTH still has their F7 tooling and they're doing it with Protosounds 3. Obviously, we know that the Atlas version has a lot more add-on details, but I don't think that MTH wants to give up the competitive advantage of having Protosounds 3 in the engine, considering that their F7s are being offered at the same exact price point as Atlas is. So I think that's why they don't have Protosounds 3. Supposedly, according to the Atlas rep tonight on the Train World live stream, the 3-rail versions are going to have ESU lock sounds in it, which is really interesting because that's like top of the line stuff in the HO and N scale world. I probably won't order any of these just because I have the two P42s that I'm going to order. But really solid engines, great details at a really great price point, very competitive with the MTH F7s that were just announced. Maybe these black Southern F7s will fall into my pre-order cart. There's a custom run of Southern F7s that MTH is doing with a hobby store down in North Carolina. I'm waiting for the renderings on those because the black isn't my favorite Southern paint scheme, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and you can just so everyone knows too, these come in multiple road numbers, so you can make if you want an A BBA, you can do that. You can have two powered A's, you can have a powered B, you can have unpowered B, so you can definitely kind of mix and match here uh, as far as how many powered units you want and how many unpowered units you want. And like RJ was saying, like the price here on these is pretty decent. So the powered 3 rails are $549, and that goes the same for the powered 2 rails. They're $549, and then the unpowered versions are all $239.95. And these are MSRP prices. So like you're talking like you're talking high 400s and high maybe 199 or something maybe, or like like 210 perhaps for a non-powered unit. That's pretty, I would say that's really really good. I would definitely put that, if they made this in a paint scheme that I was attracted to, I would 100% buy a set from here. But they don't, so I'll just continue to wait. So that said, I also have a Burlington Northern F3 ABA set that MTH is doing custom run for Berwyn, so I've already locked that one down. So I probably have enough stuff coming anyway. But yeah, really great pricing here. Again, these are pre-order due date is Wednesday, January 19th, and the estimated arrival is the same second quarter of 2022. So, all right, so let's go ahead and move on, and we'll just kind of like move through these last couple of pages pretty quickly. These are just standard rolling stock. If you guys see anything, please speak out. Let me know what you think if you're going to buy one. Otherwise, there's not too much to really talk on here. On page 24, we have some cupola cabooses. There's a Chesapeake and Ohio. There's an Erie Lackawanna. There's a Maine Central, a Reading Southern, and a Southern Pacific. Any comments?
Just quick note that 4 of these were made to match with the previously talked about F7s, and the other 2 were the Maine Central and the Erie Lackawanna match 44 tonners that Atlas is about to release. So if you got any of those engines or you're pre-ordering any of these engines, then you've got a caboose to go with them.
Yep, very cool. Good to know. Thank you.
I really like that Erie Lackawanna. That's really cool looking.
I like the Southern Pacific, but that's just because I like Southern Pacific. So I slap that on
Foamer.
anything and I'll like it. Yeah, foamer.
I like the Chesapeake and Ohio, but yellow and blue always looks nice for me. So, and these are about $66, $66.95 MSRP. So you could probably get them in the low 50s if you pre-order it from a good dealer. Next page 26. Okay, these are cool. We got some Atlas Premier Snowplows. This is a new Atlas O model, and according to them, all new prototypical paint schemes. So there's a Canadian National, Maine Central, Milwaukee Road, New York Central, a Union Pacific, and then a Rio Grande. And these MSRP for $89.95, and old 31 curves. They're scale 148 scale dimensions. These are cool. I kind of like these.
Yeah, I've got one of the old MTH Premier runs of this car, and it's a really nice car. Glad to see it in some prototypical paint schemes. If I didn't already have one, I'd probably order that New York Central one, but well worth the money. And the old MTH ones sell for over $100 on eBay, so it's really nice to see that these are being offered at a better price than the secondhand market.
I like that New York Central one. That one's really cool.
I'm indifferent, so they're cool though. Just not for me.
What? No snowplow for your ski train? For
No,
your
do,
I
you
I
do.
want my Vision Line rotary snowplow. Thank you very
I was
much.
gonna say this is close enough. It's snowplow.
Yeah,
Just
but
doesn't have a rotating piece on
it looks like a caboose with a mouth though.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the Long Island version that's not here. It's got a mouth on it.
We need a Florida East Coast one. There we go.
for all that snow.
I think got a lot of
yeah.
snow down there.
It could push sand.
A sand plow.
Yeah.
And plow. Hey.
Let's go ahead and move on. Page 28. We have some 3-bay Centerflow hoppers, and oh my gosh, it's a BNSF. All right, so we found the BNSF in the catalog, folks.
Finally.
These are cool. Chicago Northwestern. It got a Grand Trunk Western. Missouri Pacific, Union Pacific, and Vermont Railway. So looks like we finally got the Midwest represented here with the Centerflow hoppers. So obviously for me, like that BNSF one has some interest for me. How about you guys?
No Metra Center flow hoppers. Come on, no I'm kidding.
Sorry.
No, that Missouri Pacific one, that was really sharp. It's if I had to choose one, that one's pretty good. A good close second probably had to be that BNSF. I'm surprised you aren't interested in that Chicago Northwestern one, Matt.
That is nice. I do like that green with that logo on it. It is pretty sharp looking. We'll see. We'll see. RJ or Matt Z, any comments on our Centerflow hoppers?
These hoppers, it's not really what I model. I really like the Vermont Railway hopper, but I'm gonna pass on this just because it's not really what I model.
I mean, I like the BNSF. Those are cool looking. Wouldn't mind grabbing one or two of those, but after that, yeah.
These do have multiple road numbers. They MSRP for about $79.95. There's also a 4-pack, so you can get a 4-pack for $319.80. And again, that's the MSRP. These are all obviously scale, and 031 curves. These are pretty cool. There's also 2-rail edition as well for like $5 more. So, all right, let's move on down. We're on page 32. And we have some 50-foot footer all-door box cars. So we got some looks like British Columbia. We got Champion International. We got David J. Joseph Transportation. Someone will have to let me know where in the world that is. We got Masonite Corporation. Wow, they really went with some very unique railroads here, didn't they? Simpson Timber Company and Triangle Pacific. So any comments here?
These are out there, that's for sure. These cars, though, these are just as hot as those snowplows. These go for big bucks on the secondhand market. These are really cool, so I'm excited to see these back.
Atlas really went for it with these first MTH Premier rolling stock offerings. Like the high cube boxcars in the first release, those were really sought after cars on the secondhand market. And now with the snowplows and these all door boxcars, they're just going for it. Personally, I don't need any more rolling stock in my collection, and my girlfriend said that she'd leave me if I bought another boxcar. So I'm gonna pass on these. But they're really nice boxcars, and I would get your hands on one while you can because these are going to sell out quick.
I am indifferent towards them, so hey, someone else can buy them, and I get to sit here with my basically empty wallet
with your P42s.
with my P42s.
Yep. These are about $79.95 MSRP. There are 2 road numbers available in each one, and again, there is a 3-rail and a 2-rail version as well. So, and on page 34, we have these Atlas O Premier crane cars, and Atlas is basically flashing us with the new Atlas O model and the all new prototypical paint schemes. So we have a Clinchfield, we have a Kansas City Southern crane car, we have a nickel plate road, which is kind of cool. We have a Rio Grande, we have a black bonnet Santa Fe crane. I'm not really sure, but and we also have a Western Pacific. So it's not really a black bonnet Santa Fe crane, but you guys know what I mean if you see it. These are pretty cool. I like crane cars. I have a Santa Fe TMCC crane car, the zebra stripe crane car with the boom. But if I didn't have that, I would definitely look into one of these. These always look kind of cool on any kind of layout where you're kind of having like a construction scene in the background, or like a side track where you're doing like train work or rail work or stuff like that. Any comments?
Really glad to see that Atlas is bringing these back in all new, never done before road names by MTH or paint schemes by MTH. So really looking forward for those guys out there who wanted to get these road names in their collection.
No, they're definitely very, very cool cars. I probably will be passing on these, mostly because I'm actually more of a fan of the Lionel ones, like Matt has. Just I rather shout the extra couple bucks to get the functionality. But if you just want a nice crane car to go in your layout, sit in the siding, be on a work train, this is definitely a good option for you there.
A +1 on the Lionel. The MTH or Atlas, whichever, are cool, but it's all manual. There's no command with this thing. Whereas the Lionel, all the hooks, the boom, the cab rotates, all that stuff is all through the remote. Whereas this, it's all a little lever on the side of the car. It just it doesn't get used. So yeah, I'd much rather do the Lionel, but really cool that they're offering that. Nickel plate is really cool. I like that one a whole lot. But if you want the functionality, that this really isn't for you. But if you just want a nice crane and tender, that this might be for you. So by all means, if you like it, go for it.
Yep, and these are $89.95 for the MSRP, and again, there is a two-rail version as well. Moving on, I'm not going to stay here for too long. It's just the matching crane tenders for the crane cars. Not much to say here. These retail for $79.95. So, I mean, it's going to cost you, basically 170-ish dollars MSRP for a matching crane and tender. If you want it, go for it. All right, let's move on to page 42, which is actually something that I really kind of interested me when I first looked at the catalog. So we have these little scale test cars, and there is a Burlington Northern, there's a Chicago and Northwestern, a CSX, a Jersey Central, a New York Central, and a Norfolk Southern. And this is probably the one certain item that I will be getting out of this catalog is I'm definitely going to get a Burlington Northern scale test car, without a doubt. Like that's the one thing, that's the one certain item in this catalog that I am going to pre-order. And these are just really cool. I don't know. There's just something about them. Always cool to have like a little test car. How about you guys?
It's gonna look like you're gonna have a little lemon on your layout. It's got that bright yellow and green, so it's gonna be like a little lemon. Better if you ever review it, better have a glass of lemonade in your hands, Matt.
I will make sure I have that.
They're cool. MTH hasn't done these since the late 90s. So to see this coming back is really cool. I'm probably going to get a New York Central. But these are really cool. So I'm really glad to see these.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Matt. Really excited to see these recatalogued. I've only been able to stumble across one of these in the wilds at a train store. So I really like that New York Central one. So maybe I'll order it, maybe I won't, but just generally glad to see that Atlas is bringing back this really old MTH tooling that hasn't seen daylight in a while.
Gotta
Yep.
say that Chicago Northwestern one's got a really interesting color choice. You wouldn't expect gray and red on a Chicago Northwestern. I expect that of Southern Pacific. So that's definitely a unique color choice there.
I was going to say
Definitely.
the same thing. Yeah, if that was Southern Pacific, it would be a little more believable. But CNW, I don't think so.
Well, it's according to Atlas, it's prototypical paint schemes. So, all right. So these are a decent price of $60.59.95 MSRP. So you can probably get them for the low 50s, maybe high 40s, depending on who you go through. Yeah, definitely ordering one of these myself. So, all right. So page 44, like Atlas did in the last catalog, they're introducing some kind of special holiday cars. So in this one, they have a 4th of July commemorative model, and then they also have a Happy St. Patrick's Day one. And this kind of goes along with they had a Halloween and a Christmas one, right? Last catalog.
Yeah.
And
And now they're
Thanksgiving.
going, Thanksgiving. Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Yeah, right here. Joining the previously released Thanksgiving, or Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and St. Patrick's Day offerings. Yeah, are these ones.
Yep.
And that Independence Day with the I don't know, maybe the New York City skyline. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that one for sure. Plus, it's got One World Trade in it, so how can you almost have to get that.
Yeah. I mean, a proper skyscraper, unlike some other ones out in Chicago. But really, really cool car.
I
So
think
now
we should uninvite RJ from the podcast. Just saying after he dissed Chicago. Okay.
you're off.
He's done now.
So it is. It looks like it is. It says FRD 1776. So I guess this is a bicentennial car. So
Are you gonna cave and add it to your bicentennial collection, Matt?
no.
Even though it says New York, because it says New York. If it said Chicago, you'd be all over it.
Yeah, but I want to eat real pizza. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, then you should be coming out to New York. So,
Okay, that's it, Johnny. Get
Get
it's
your
a
bags.
fight. It's a fight. That's why we invited you, RJ. We need this New York versus Chicago battle with you guys. So
This was actually a ploy to discuss pizza. No, I'm kidding.
um, so moving on, there's not much left in the catalog here, folks. I mean, we have some parts. So you can order some parts if you want.
you're just gonna disrespect the old MTH traffic lights like that?
Okay, I will hit. So
Hey,
there
come
are
on,
some
Matt.
so the Atlas O vehicles, which are actually pretty cool. On page 46, there's some construction vehicle there. So there's like a crane. There is a timber mover, I believe. Yeah.
They're making Herbie.
They're making Herbie. I have Herbie.
I
I have
might
Herbie on my
have to
layout.
get myself Herbie.
Yeah, that's a remake because they made Herbie before, and I actually have a Herbie on my layout. I think they made a bunch of these already. I think they're remaking them again. So on page 48, I don't want to upset RJ. So here's your stoplights that you would like to see. Here's your on page 49, we got some road signs and some telephone pole sets. We got some bridges on page 50. On 51, we got some the motorcycle gang. I actually have a couple of those guys. And to round out the catalog, we have a bunch of MTH parts. So there's a Z1000, Z1000, just the brick by itself. There's an AIU, some cables, and then there's a Wi-Fi interface unit, and then the DCS Wi-Fi digital command system number 2. That's basically the TIU and the WIU put together. So, and that pretty much ends the catalog. Gentlemen, any final thoughts about the catalog tonight?
Well, personally, I'm just really glad to see that the Amtrak P42 heritage units are being done in O scale. Certainly something that I have been really looking forward to. Kind of disappointed that they aren't doing accurate AM fleets to go along with it, but hey, I can live. And for the rolling stock out there, really nice to see some of these things come back after being gone for quite a while. So overall, not a huge catalog like a lot of people were thinking it was going to be, but certainly it was a very good catalog for a lot of people out there.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Gotta say, my favorite. I know we got the Genesis and all the cars and all that, but I mean, like those traffic lights, though. I mean, the highlight of the catalog. Um, no, I am a big fan of this catalog. This is, I think, my favorite Atlas catalog I've seen so far, at least in the past year. The Genesis is definitely the engine that I am the most excited for. The passenger cars. This is probably gonna be my first Atlas pre-order, so pretty hyped there, but. Lots of good stuff. And if you are into Amtrak, this is the catalog for you. So, loved it so far.
And I'm gonna kind of go along with the crowd here, especially with Johnny and those P42s. I mean, if you want Amtrak, this is your catalog. I mean, the heritage 50th units, whatever you want to call them. RJ will shoot me because he knows the correct term and I don't. But in any event, this is really cool, and I think, like I said, for Amtrak fans, you want it, go get it, pre-order it, or else you probably won't get it. But it's a really great catalog, and I'm really excited to see what Atlas has planned in the future.
Yeah, and just so you know, guys, that those traffic lights are in the Phase 4 paint scheme too. So
Oh, thank goodness! I was going to harass the hatless guy on the Train World live stream if
Is
they
it
were in the
PS3
Phase
or
3,
PS3 or Legacy?
or are they
it's P-
TMCC?
Yeah.
they're both. It's a
Oh
hybrid.
wow!
Hybrid, a traffic light hybrid, brass hybrid.
Anyway, moving on. So yeah, just to kind of, I think everybody said it well here. Is if you want to order anything out of this catalog, we would suggest that you definitely, if you're gonna order one of the P42s, you will need to 100% pre-order those. Like, jump on it, pre-order it now. Those are probably the hot ticket item. I mean, they're in the front of the catalog. They're on the front of the catalog for a reason. They're the hot thing going, for Atlas right now. And if you want one, please order one. Otherwise, for me, there wasn't too much in the catalog. A couple pieces of rolling stock for me, but that's okay. I'm I'm just happy that Alice is making stuff and we're getting options, right? Because the more options in this O scale industry, the better for us, the better for the consumer. If more people are making engines and locomotives and rolling stock and everything else in between, then it's good to be a consumer then, because we want options, right? Very happy with the catalog that Atlas produced, and I look forward to seeing their next catalog. So, all right, well, that ends the catalog review show tonight. Now, with all of our guests, RJ, before I get to where people can find you, I do want to let folks know that we will be doing an official interview with RJ, so we can get the actual scoop on who this person is that just mysteriously just appeared in our podcast chat. So, but yeah, we will for real be doing an interview with him. We definitely want to get him on and kind of find out what makes him tick. So, with that said, RJ, thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on the podcast, and obviously just being there as our kind of Amtrak guide in this catalog review, because you basically taught me a lot of things about Amtrak and the different paint schemes and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's always great chatting with you guys. Really looking forward to the sit down full interview and just not some random Long Islander coming on and foaming about Amtrak. And I hope you guys, the listeners, learned a little something about Amtrak.
I'm certain that they did. So with that said, RJ, where can people find you on the internet?
So you can find my YouTube channel if you just search RJ's Trains in YouTube. Comes up. I have a little white black logo. And then on Instagram, you can find me at rj.trains. And that's all my social media.
Excellent. Johnny, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Audamus, Audamus. You can find me there screaming at inanimate objects, getting hit by boxes, generally foaming about trains. You can also find me on Instagram at Audamus_trains, where you can reach out and talk to me. I'd also like to give a little shout out to our listener, Clay Fulcher, who reached out and told us what he thought of the podcast and shared his story with us. We'd love to hear from everybody. So if you'd like to get in contact with myself, feel free to hit me up on Instagram. I love talking to folks about trains, so please go ahead and do that.
Excellent. And Matt Z, how about you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube under Matt-TrainLover9943. I'm also on Facebook under the same name. And yes, to our friend who reached out, really appreciate it. Please keep the feedback coming.
Absolutely. We love hearing from definitely our listeners of the show here. Now, I can be found on YouTube at West Chicago Model Railroad. I'm on Facebook under the same name, and I'm also on Instagram under WCMRR. Now, with that said, if you'd like to get in touch with any of us on the podcast, all of our information is in the show notes. Our email address. We're also on Facebook. We have a YouTube link. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and our home base of Podbean. We are also, for those out there, if you have Spotify or Amazon Music, you can just go ahead and search us up on there. In fact, you can even tell your smart speaker. I won't say that name right now because I don't want to activate anyone's smart speaker. But obviously, you can tell them to play the Matt O Scale Train podcast, and hopefully we pop up for you. Now, with that said, folks, thank you for listening. We really appreciate everyone's feedback and everyone's ears, right? We appreciate your ears turning on our podcasts, listening to us talk about trains. There are plenty of more topics along the way. We have some special guests in January that's going to be amazing. So please stay tuned. And folks, have a wonderful night.
Take care.
See you guys.
Bye.
And I will pass this right back over to DJ. Oh my
welcome,
God.
DJ.
Hold on. Oh my
DJ.
God.
Hey guys, I love subways.